everybody, it's Miss Hull. I want to start by saying a huge thank you to all the children who have sent us character descriptions of their mythical creatures and monsters. We had lots of Robin Hood character descriptions, which is brilliant. Thank you for using the picture. We had a Minotaur from a Wab. We had some Loch Ness Monster character descriptions, and I think we even had a mermaid. So that was absolutely brilliant. Well done. I'm going to run through this video today and it will give you an opportunity to use those character descriptions in your very own mystery story. Before we do that though, there's a pause point because I'm just going to quickly run through your spellings and give you an activity that you could be doing with those this week. So, say your spellings with me at home. We've got strange, strength, suppose, surprise, therefore, though. Now this week for your spelling activity, I thought it might be quite nice for you to combine your maths and your writing. So I would like you to see if you can write your spellings horizontally, which I'm hoping you can because that's how we normally write, vertically, diagonally, or maybe you could challenge yourselves to write your spellings as though they are a right angle. Maybe you could put two spellings together to create a parallel spellings or perpendicular spellings. Have a go. And you can send that challenge through to the Year 4 email and we are more than happy to take a look at that for you. Okay, let's get going with our mystery stories. So, last week you'll remember that we were working on a character description and we started that character description using our census circle. I've finished my census circle now and I've also finished my character description, which I can now share with you. So mine was of our picture from last week, which is Robin Hood. This week we have a different picture. It's of a robot style creature and you can absolutely use that in your mystery story this week. I've just stayed focused on Robin Hood because I quite like this legend and this theme. So I have written, forest dweller Robin Hood crouches low on the cool smooth rock he is knelt upon. He can smell the damp earth below him as he inhales, ready to strike. Finding rhythm with the thudding of his heartbeat, he tightens the grip his grubby fingers have on the bow before whoosh, twang. The arrow flies through the forest faster than any bird and embeds itself in an ancient oak tree. Robin Hood knows it has reached its target from the rustling disturbance in the undergrowth. He turns on his heel as a skater would and darts into the luscious green foliage. His beady hazelnut eyes focus on the path ahead, whilst his flowing green cape glides swiftly as he speeds along. So that's my character description of Robin Hood, and I'm hopefully going to use that today in my story. So I started thinking about a story, and as you all know, I like to do things through pictures. So I started to draw out what I wanted to happen in my story. But before I did that, I remembered that there are 5 sections to a story. And we always have a beginning, a build-up, a climax, a resolution, and an ending. So, 5 sections, 5 days of the week. I would suggest that you write your beginning on Monday because you plan it Monday, write it Monday. You plan your build-up Tuesday, write it Tuesday. Plan your climax Wednesday, write it Wednesday. And the same follows for the resolution and the ending. So, I've begun to plan my story through pictures, and you can see here I have got a group of people in a tent and what looks to be a forest. But by the time we get to the build-up, the tent's closed and there appears to be that character Robin Hood stood by the tent. And you do have to excuse my drawings because I'm not the best artist. Then what I did was think about how I can turn that picture plan into a plan to organise my ideas for the beginning. So, I've got here the plan for the beginning of my story. Remember, I've got Monday because I'm going to do this bit on Monday. I want 3 main characters, which I drew on the tent, and I've chosen to call them Scott, Ben and Leah. I want them to be in Sherwood Forest and I want them to go camping. And I want them to be telling stories about Robin Hood. That's what's going to start us off. Then, I've said for GPS skills, I need to include adjectives, adverbs. I need to link to the Green Forest. I need to make sure that really that theme is repeated throughout, that I'm linking back to being in the forest, in the forest, in the forest. I want an inner thought sentence, which I'm going to talk to you a bit more about and what that means shortly. I'd like some dialogue and I'd like some conjunctions. That's just for my beginning. So let's have a look at what we could have. I'm going to just put this here. I've started my beginning by saying, as the tent opening flapped wildly in the dark, Ben struggled to fasten the zip and give the group shelter. There isn't even a breeze, he thought. Why does the dark make everything feel so eerie? Now that's that inner thought sentence that I was talking about over here. So it's what Ben is thinking at the moment, and he's sharing that with the reader. You'll also notice I didn't start by saying, once there were 3 children camping in Sherwood Forest. Because we're year 4, we can do better than that. And if you read a lot of David Walliams books, J.K. Rowling books, Roald Dahl books, they drip feed the reader clues. They don't give them everything at once, because then it will be boring to read. Finally, Ben secured the zip and turned to face his friends in the emerald glow of their makeshift pyramid. Again, I haven't used the word tent again. I've tried to think of a different way of describing it, and yeah, it looks a bit like a pyramid. We also now know that Ben is camping with his friends, so we know where the children fit in. Ben and his best friend Scott had camped amongst the trees of Sherwood Forest many times, but their new neighbour Leah had never even been to a forest, let alone camped in one. So again, we find out a bit more about the children. We know that Scott and Ben are best friends. We now know that Leah is their new neighbour and she's never been to a forest. So that might tell you a bit more about maybe she's just moved, maybe she's not from an area with forests. Lots of different things. And we now know they're in Sherwood Forest, okay, which is famous for Robin Hood. So I've started writing my beginning there. And if I go back to my plan, you might have noticed that I'd marked off things I'd already included. So I've talked about the characters, I've talked about them being in Sherwood Forest and camping, but I haven't got as far as telling stories about Robin Hood. I've added some adjectives and adverbs. I remember adding wildly, and finally I said emerald glow for adjectives and brought in that link to the Green Forest. I had that inner thought sentence, do you remember? There isn't even a breeze, he thought. Why does the dark make everything feel so eerie? And I added conjunctions. I didn't have dialogue at this point. I've not included it yet. The inner thought sounds a bit like dialogue, but you've got to be careful. It isn't. The inner thought is just what someone is thinking, so don't get confused with that. We might need to put some dialogue in. So let's see if we can add to our beginning. We need to try and talk, get a character talking, and then we need to think about stories about Robin Hood. I'll just find my pen. So, because we've just talked about Leah, I might start this sentence with Leah as the focus. And I'm going to go back to that character description and talk about her a little bit. Let me just see that I can see the picture and see how I've drawn her. Let's start with describing her hair. Now, she brushed her, I would say her hair's shoulder length. Yeah, I'll say shoulder length. Brown hair. I'm going to say that she's going to brush it away. So she's not using a hairbrush, she's moving it with her hands away from her, and I'm going to give her freckles, her freckled cheeks. But you should now have an image in your head that started with just my little drawing, but you've got a bigger picture of this character now. Now she brushed her shoulder length brown hair away from her freckled cheeks, and I'm going to say that because she's never camped before, she's quite eager to know more. So I'm going to say, and eagerly said to Scott, now remember, because we're going to have some speech, because we've said and we're having that dialogue, it's new line, new speaker, and you must include your inverted commas. Tell me more about Robin Hood. Okay, so now I can go back to my plan. We've now got the dialogue, but I'm still missing the telling stories about Robin Hood. However, what I do have is my character description of Robin Hood. So maybe what I could do is put together my beginning so far and my character description, and Scott's speech now could be this. He could tell the story of Robin Hood through a character description, and that could be the beginning of our story. Let's have a read and see what we think. As the tent opening flapped wildly in the dark, Ben struggled to fasten the zip and give the group shelter. There isn't even a breeze, he thought. Why does the dark make everything feel so eerie? Finally, Ben secured the zip and turned to face his friends in the emerald glow of their makeshift pyramid. Ben and his best friend Scott had camped amongst the trees of Sherwood Forest many times, but their new neighbour Leah had never even been to a forest, let alone camped in one. Now she brushed her shoulder-length brown hair away from her freckled cheeks and eagerly said to Scott, "Tell me more about Robin Hood." Forest dweller Robin Hood crouches low on the cool, smooth rock he is knelt upon. He can smell the damp earth below him as he inhales, ready to strike. Finding rhythm with the thudding of his heartbeat, he tightens the grip his grubby fingers have on the bow before whoosh, twang. The arrow flies through the forest faster than any bird and embeds itself in an ancient oak tree. Robin Hood knows it has reached its target from the rustling disturbance in the undergrowth. He turns on his heel as a skater would and darts into the luscious green foliage. His beady hazelnut eyes focus on the path ahead, whilst his flowing green cape glides swiftly as he speeds along. And then I've actually completed the beginning section of my writing. So I'm going to leave you with those ideas. You don't have to follow what I have done. You can do something different. And just before I go, I've got a game that you can play that might help you with some ideas as well. Remember, you're allowed to use the Robin Hood character, you're allowed to use your own mythical character, you're allowed to use the picture character from this week. Now, if you get stuck and you're not sure what to write next, but you know you want to add more detail, this is called roll a sentence. So if you've got a dice, perfect, because there are 6 options and there's obviously 6 sides to the dice. If you don't have a dice, just use the number cards we've been using in maths or create some more number cards. So I'm going to roll my dice and I've rolled a 2. So I'm going to try and include an inner thought sentence, and we've talked about what that is during this video. Then a bit later on in my writing, I'm still stuck, I still don't know what to do. Oh, 3. I'm going to include an actions and movements sentence. So it just helps you focus your ideas and come back to different areas that you might be struggling with. It also gives you really varied writing, so you're not always writing about what the character can see. You're not always writing about how the character feels. You're dotting in lots of different skills. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Have a fantastic week and enjoy this writing. I think I'll try write along with you and complete this Robin Hood story because I'm enjoying it as well. Email us with anything you would like a bit of support with. If you want to email us just the beginning section so that we can feed back to you, that's absolutely fine. If you want to get partway through and get as far as the climax, then email, that's fine. And if you want to just surprise us with an amazing story at the end of the week, that is also fine. Enjoy your writing, make sure you're staying safe, and thank you very much for watching. Bye!